So we'll call the meeting of the Open Government Commission to order at 6 p.m. We need to do a roll call first.
Yes.
Okay,
So Chair Benz,
here.
Vice Chair Lydia here, Commissioner Cooley
Here.
Commissioner McCauley,
Here.
Commissioner Sandy.
Thank you. And do we have any public comment?
None this time.
Okay. Consent calendar. Items under the consent calendar are deemed routine and approved with one motion. If a commissioner wishes for a separate discussion on an item, it must be requested for removal before the approval vote. If removed, the item will be discussed in its original. Right. We get to approve the minutes of March 6th. Oh, so where's the packets?
Were they printing them out for you each meeting?
Yeah.
Electronic.
Yeah, because if I print it out, it will use all my paper and all my ink.
I printed mine out.
But not the attachments.
Yeah,
No,
I
there
did
was
the
a
report.
huge attachment.
I
with
didn't
all the-
print that.
of the draft.
No. The
all the requests.
Oh, that's on my computer.
Yeah,
okay.
I read it all, but
I did
I
too.
wasn't gonna print it.
But okay.
Yeah,
So
we default to electronic,
Yeah.
and then if you
Mhm.
request printed, we can do that.
that's part of the difference of having it here and having it in chambers, because when we were on the dais, we could actually just see it on the computer. I'm not sure and Ty printed them
Mhm.
before, so. Okay.
If needed, could we project here if we need to look at it?
Okay. So
Do I need my computer to do that? Because you're
No, I'm linked in right now to it, so
okay. So
when we need to, I'll switch screens.
okay, so do we have a motion to approve the special meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion that one administrative change to the draft is after Sharpie's name, just add commissioner.
That's fair. Gotcha.
But then, yeah, I'm ready to approve.
Or do we have a second?
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Bryce, do we,
Just use just all in favor and then any opposed.
okay, all in favor? Against? Okay. 5-0. It passes. All right, unfinished business. We're so happy to have Jimmy here for this.
it's good to be here. Thank you.
Reports of the subcommittees. Is there a staff report?
No set staff report, just this is the opportunity and time for the committees that were created at the last special meeting to report out to us. Report inside the packet is a written report up of the subcommittees the commission created. Second, I'll put it up here.
Okay.
Who's doing that? I can tell you what the first one is, the OGO video training. And the work plan item is to revise the method for training pursuant to the open government ordinance, and that's Samavia and Crutley.
And Commissioner Samavia is passing out.
Yeah, this is what Janet and I kind of brainstormed. Looking at the OGO training, we took the actual OGO and broke it up into these little subsections that you'll find on page 2 and 3. It provides references to the OGO, and this is kind of what we based PowerPoint slides off of. On page 1, you'll notice we identified a timeline between now and kind of our notional goal being the 17th through the 21st, because that's what we were forecasting as Open Government Week, and that'd probably be a great way of introducing the new training as well, giving us
yeah.
another
Good idea.
way to plug it. And then outlined our training objectives on there, and if you'll indulge us, we have a PowerPoint slide.
Oh, good.
It's very short. first two modules, just to give you an idea, the form fit function approach that we took. And if we need a vector check from y'all, we can definitely take that. Different colors, different font, rearrange.
And by we, Shane is meaning
Do
Shane.
some-
I
do
mean, we
something
did meet
different.
and we have gone over it, but Shane is.
I've been
amazing.
partnered with him on many things. and
Yeah.
He is like the
Come on.
master.
You go, boy.
Pretty.
I love it.
So this is our intro slide.
Yeah,
It does have recording. And we do allow whoever's watching it, you can mute it if you want to read the slides. But if you're one who want to sit back and let us speak to you about what's on the slides, that's in
Oh.
there as well.
nice.
That also
Narration,
makes it more
yeah.
accessible.
navigation, kind of took the Microsoft approach. You know, the controls will be in the top right corner of every slide.
Mhm.
So they can stop after a module, come back later, jump to it based on the index. And then we also included hyperlinks as well. That'll take them to other sections within the presentation or to the ordinance itself. In that next slide. Kind of the training objectives, same ones that you'll see on your handouts. Next slide. The four sections, if you will. The first one, just kind of highlighting what the OGO is. And then we took the most recent change. For us, it was 2023. They made a change, they made changes to the California code that needed to be referenced in our OGO. So we just highlighted that here. The anticipation is there'll be backup slides with all the 17 previous changes to the OGO for those who are inclined to see what changes happened in the past.
Mhm.
But I think it's important, at least the latest changes, whoever the trainee is, would be able to see what that most recent change is. And then, of course, public access meetings. Those are the two that we were able to get done in kind of this iteration. And then the next two will follow up, you know, pending your guys' input. Next slide. Just highlight, you know, who it's intended for, of course, the public, but the individual roles and then the frequency when it's required.
So this is training by everybody, and these are the timelines that they have to do it,
Correct,
complete it.
correct,
Okay.
yeah. And then,
Is that something that you guys track in the city, like council members completing training, any commissioners? I mean, I imagine it would be hard to track commissioners.
It's only required, like legally required training. So for instance, you have on here ethics, AB 1234 requires council members. Many of us staff members have ethics training.
Hmm.
So it would only be if it's required.
Okay,
So we would be taking this training, because we're new.
well,
should have.
absolutely, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
The new council, because they just were recently sworn in.
right.
Certain city employees, I guess.
New city employees are.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty broad.
So you are writing the training?
There is a training module on the website right now. There's like a video.
Yes.
That's very
We
lengthy
saw-
and all
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
and so
Very
there's that,
familiar
but
with
we're
that.
kind of trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
streamline this and make it more approachable.
My idea, once we get done, and you'll see it in the timeline, hand it to staff vet it through legal.
Mhm.
They give the thumbs up, they can go live, they can present it however they want.
I gotcha.
Just our recommendation to the city.
Mhm. So Jimmy, besides legal, do we need to get the council to adopt?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you'd have to get not just the council, you would have to give them a policy that they're requiring all city employees and such, and then you would have to negotiate that with the labor groups as well.
That'll be fun. Okay,
Well, you don't have to do it,
I
so.
thought it was already kind of a policy.
and it's just kind of an update.
I mean, because on our last meeting, I think we talked about that the council had already gone through a training and it was kind of something that was already in place. But we really didn't have something saying, maybe it had to be done, but it was being done already. But did I misunderstand?
So there's a requirement that's placed for new employees coming in that within 60 days of of getting employment, they had to watch this video.
Right.
That was documented as part of the onboarding process. So it's not like it's basically a little check box the supervisor does, it's provided to HR and the onboarding.
That it's been completed, right?
I thought there was an
But-
ethics thing done that was a little bit more for certain
Yes.
other, okay.
Yeah, but that's not something that we regulate, as you mentioned, that's the AB 1254
Right.
training, that's state mandated every 2 years. That process.
Yeah. And specifically, the OGO says all city department heads, all management employees, all policy body members, all employees and officials who are required to file a statement of economic interest and city conflict of code, interest code shall sign an affidavit or declaring statement under penalty and perjury. Government ordinance training has been completed on the government ordinance within 60 days of appointment, 2 years thereafter. The affidavit or declaration shall be maintained by the city clerk and shall be available as public record. Training shall be provided by the city attorney's office. That's why I said city attorney would hack on.
And that was the video that
Yeah.
used to be done, that a little
Dated.
dated,
The Brown Act one.
so.
It's a little bit more than
I
the,
think if we just kind of follow the statement.
Yeah, I think if you follow what
Yeah.
the code says, you should be fine.
because it's already cut.
Yeah.
It's just modernizing.
Is there you know the code better than I do. Is there a requirement for how often that training has to be done? Or is it
2 years?
every 2 years?
Within 60 days and then every 2 years.
Got it.
Fresh.
Well, and that
Oh,
was,
TikTok.
Well, TikTok times 10, because I've been here a long time and done that. Well,
well,
I'm just being honest. I mean,
No, I,
and that
appreciate
one
that.
where it says it's maintained by the city clerk and shall be available as a public record.
our city court.
That's why it's come up as kind of an
Yeah.
important thing, because it is kind of dated and it's even when you go to the website, there's not even the video kind of there anymore. It's a broken link.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
that's kind of why this has come up.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we had a request to take the video down. As some people in this room, because it was so bad. But no, I mean, this is perfectly within your scope and role, and it should something we apparently should be doing. That
Yeah, I wonder if we could get something less tattered.
Well, you can see,
that's the original document.
Yes.
I'm telling you, with all my notes, and I did, yeah.
So a lot of things I said before really don't apply because I did not realize that that was in there. So you update the training, and we probably get it approved by council, and then I think you're probably on your way.
And you're thinking the same week as open government week, yeah.
Kind of
good
gives us,
idea. Is that October, November? November, right?
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's the
Next slide.
17th through the 21st or something.
Of course, the 3 modules to the OGO or the 3 pillars, next slide. And then we just kind of go through those, highlighting it. But what you'll see in the notes page is references to everything that you see there, plus the narration, so that whoever comes after us, when they need to update it, they know what the reference is, they can change the narration, kind of. We're just in caretaker status here, updated
Right.
as you see appropriate.
It's someone's. perfect.
If you want to, yeah, oh, so this was the most recent change. You can see the old OGO where highlighted the old government code sections. That's the new OGO on the right with the new, just simply to illustrate.
Right,
Here's what the
right.
change that you read in the previous slide actually reflects.
This is impressive.
What was the change in 2023?
This one here, see where the government code that I highlighted.
Oh, it
in red?
updated the government code that it referenced.
Yeah. That's.
Is
the
that
only
when all
thing.
the numbers changed?
Yeah, the legislature actually lifted it out of there, created a new one, but there's actually a provision that says. Nothing substantially or by letter changed, it's just in reference. So that's all that one is. And then next slide. And now we start section 2, which is public
Public
meetings.
access, yeah.
And then the next 2, but like I said, we have the narration. In there, we tell the watcher, you can mute it. You can raise the volume, lower the volume, read, take it at your pace.
Can you translate? If you're watching it on a computer?
We can take the narration, do closed caption in a different language.
Okay.
And that's kind of,
Is that something intuitive that somebody could recognize and,
it's built into PowerPoint, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's built in.
So maybe there would have to be like something there, like. Para español, marque.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, something like there that, then they would know where to click.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there is more, but I don't know that you guys want to go through all the slides.
Well, I'm so glad
It's
that you went
amazing.
first. Because we now know the standard.
Well, and it just makes it so much more easy to know what it is.
Well, and we needed to replace the video.
100%.
So I really like this. I think you are so not paid enough, but it's really nice work.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's so knowledgeable.
It really is. All right.
I think the only other thing on the last page that came out of this, the 2 supplemental materials. Maybe having a frequently asked question.
Oh, FAQs, right?
Yeah.
Which we talked about last year, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I thought maybe a trifold. So if they've completed their training, their 2 years hasn't come up, they have a question, let me reference the trifold. And maybe have some quick.
Oh.
That's over and above this
Mhm.
task, but something that we could pursue once we get the
And
training.
have at the table at Open Government Week.
Mhm.
And that concludes my reading.
Thank you. All right. What's next? Who's next? On your list?
Open Government Week proclamation by council with the week of November 17, 2025.
I meant subcommittees.
That is.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
me.
Well, that was part of this though, right? Oh, different. Okay. Yeah.
Also exploring hosting an event or table for it.
That's your son.
Thank you.
So,
Oh, that's it. That's okay. Thanks.
so kind of the same thing, designating the 17th through the 21st of November, Open Government Week. To tackle this, I went to the city's proclamation policy just to see what the requirements were. The timeline, quick timeline. And the proposed activities were just things like brainstorming, what could we do in that week? So the first one was, we could team up with arts and culture to come up with an Open Government Week poster, maybe a
Mhm.
competition or something like that. We could also do the public engagement assistance at that Monday city council meeting. Maybe we have a table out there with open government commissioners, helping the public, hey, here's the agenda, here's a comment card, scan the QR code to get to the Open Government Commission or the ordinance,
Mhm.
anything.
Yeah. And so when do kids start learning about history and government? It's like junior high school, right? 6th grade, or
Depends what school you
I
go
guess it
to.
does depend, but maybe there could be a tie-in with the schools also. Like, it's Open Government Week. Here's what you should know. Okay.
Check with school.
And I see you have Terry Woodward, but it's Perry,
Oh, Perry.
former city councilman Perry Woodward.
And again, that's, I was just brainstorming,
Yeah,
don't know.
if he would be interested, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it would be interesting to talk to him.
That ask a commissioner, maybe set up a table at the library, people coming in. Hey, do you know who Open Government Commission is and what we do? And then, of course, that last debut OGO training.
Yeah.
And then, of course, to get the proclamation, I did just the council correspondence, a draft letter. And then I took a stab at a proclamation, and that's the last one on the back. We still have plenty of time, like the
Mhm.
policy says 10 days prior. But I'd want to kind of hopefully get everything done by 3 November or even 14 August. That way it's just wait to execute.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So for these suggestions, do we create like some kind of a sign up sheet, or do we decide which we want to do and which we don't?
I kind of left those as, they're open if you guys want to say, well, I don't think that's a good idea, or come up with more or additional, we can definitely do that. The timeline we have, like 14 August was kind of like finalize what we want to do.
Mm.
So yeah, we can definitely have a sign up. Hey, pick your activity and
And all those activities would be happening the 17th through the 21st. So,
we would just figure out what days would.
I gotcha.
The only one I would say would be the council one, because that would be the 17th, that Monday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It'd be great to, yeah, have it presented then. We'd be out front greeting people and, hey, here's why you saw them out there.
When do you do your annual presentation?
It's fungible. Sometimes it's in December. I think we've done it once in November.
Or wouldn't it be more fun to do it on the 17th?
Ooh, I like that.
Yes,
Fun.
way more fun.
You could do that, you could do your proclamation.
Mhm.
Or
Kit and caboodle.
Logo Fiesta.
But same thing with, any suggested changes to the proclamation. No pride in ownership, feel free. And we do have time to make any changes. Just kind of want to put something out there in front of you.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay, next one.
Next.
Code of Ethics, Commission review and recommendation regarding a potential code of ethics conduct for leadership. Holly and Sandu.
I have a quick verbal update to provide on that topic. So the two of us met about a month ago and we discussed what are the next steps. One of the things we discussed was, let's take a look at some other cities that have a good code of conduct or ethics, etc. Rather than starting from scratch, that would be a good way to kind of get started quickly. So we discussed looking at Morgan Hill. I know you were looking at even Palo Alto was a good one that we felt was a good high bar that we could try and follow. But the last thing we also discussed is rather than just looking at those two cities, we should also look at the handbook because that had a lot of information like for City of Gilroy as well. So we're working on that. Our goal is to continue to make as much progress as we can. And I think realistically, we were thinking it's not going to be the next meeting, but perhaps the one after. Is that sounding fair?
Okay, I want to talk to you about this one. So our jobs when we are administrating your boards and commissions is to let you know when we believe you're out of scope. And so I believe that this particular topic, giving the council their code of ethics, is outside of your scope. That doesn't mean that you can't do what you want to do. But when we submit the work plan to council, we will not be recommending that they approve that part of your work plan. So it's up to you to work with council to see if you can get that support. We treat every board and commission the same way. If the Parks and Recreation Committee wanted to talk about redoing all of our streets, we would tell them, no, that's outside of your scope. But we're not the final decider. And we did that before on when another, member, I think you wanted to do vote counts of council members.
Oh,
And I advised you, I thought that was outside of your scope. But if you can get the council to support you, and that's up to you to do, then
So who is in charge of writing the code of ethics then?
we all have ethics training, we have state mandated ethics, but that is something that I believe would need to be initialized by the council themselves.
So they write their own code of ethics?
No, they start a process to
Okay.
write the code of ethics, but
Okay.
that is something that the council would have to accept a willingness to do.
I-
so they could direct staff, right?
Exactly,
They come up
sure.
with-
Okay.
Mhm.
Just so
Exactly.
we understand.
Yeah, no, I'm try not to tell you no, but it's
Right.
just from an
Right.
administrator point of view, we're not going to facilitate that, but that doesn't mean you have to go through us to do it.
Right, and so we, with our, whatever relationships we have with council members, then we can see who will give some buy-in.
Mhm.
And we probably could name those. But
Would it be also wise to check and see if we are duplicating efforts then? Because if they are doing something, but no one's doing anything.
No, I don't want to confuse that the ethics training we have is not the same as our code of ethics.
Right.
We have professional code of ethics and things like that. The councils, as you've seen in other cities from time to time, adopt their own.
Mhm.
And if you can get the support of the majority of council to do so, then you're on your way.
Obvious they do because you guys were looking into those with other cities.
well, yeah, and what Gilroy has is code of conduct,
Mhm.
which I'm not sure why they would oppose ethics.
It's not what I've read and we've read, it's not complicated. The code of ethics that we've looked at in Morgan Hill, I mean, it's so. It doesn't seem like,
So we just have a challenge, right?
yeah, maybe, or just we have to
I
go
wouldn't
about.
call it a challenge. I'd
Yeah.
call it a different way to do it, where we know what the scope is of this board and commission. I believe it's outside of it, but that doesn't mean I'm against it, support it, don't support it. There's just other ways. And if we do submit even the ones we don't recommend, and you can make a case for this to the council that I know staff didn't recommend this, but we believe, and if the council says, yeah, we think we should do it, you're on your way.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So does that mean, great to hear that feedback. We should discuss what would that mean for next step for us then?
Yeah, we could talk about, do we want to reach out?
Yeah.
Do we want to send to them other cities' code of ethics and see if it's something that they're interested in or not? So, yeah,
And when the council hopefully adopts the budget on June 2nd, they adopt work plan, board and commission work plans and all that. And then that's your time. You can submit correspondence to the council formally. You can come up and speak. You could have talked to them beforehand
Mhm.
to see if they support what you want to do.
So it's June 2nd.
Second.
Mhm.
That's when all that's going up for approval.
Right.
So we'd have to have that buy-in before then.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be, it can be done through emails. We could say, we could send an email to all of the council members with maybe some backup material and say,
Yeah.
are you guys into this, or should we just back away? Is that enough?
That I'll leave that up to you,
Okay.
but there are many ways, discussing in person, asking to meet with them, email, what have you,
Right,
standard ways of communicating.
okay, I wasn't sure. I don't always use the most traditional methods of communicating, so.
So I'm not telling you what how to communicate.
I wanna make sure.
I
I'm doing
do.
it legit, you know, so, okay.
Or not doing something you're not supposed
Oh,
to.
yeah,
And the
exactly.
other thing I would suggest, as I'm just trying to help you to get to where you want to be, is
Sure.
to have the commission, you could also have a letter prepared. That goes
Okay.
in the budget package and says, we think these are the reasons why, and you get 4 votes, you're.
What's the deadline for submitting for the budget?
Let's see, we were 2 weeks back, but since we like you guys a
Next
lot,
week?
we might be able to. Let's see, June 2nd, probably like the 20th or somewhere around there.
May 20th.
We print the actual packet the Monday before we're trying to do, so what's the Monday before the 2nd?
Might be a holiday.
5th or, yeah, but around there, you could,
I think Labor Day.
whoever's the chair could
26th.
facilitate that with me and Bryce, and we'll give you the dates and we'll tell you how to make sure you get it in.
Okay.
So by May 20th, and then if for some reason, does it just get put into next year, or the next, is it,
If you recommend it, yeah. we
Like-
could-
if you can't make the deadline or you need more time to have conversations, we just set this for the next year, cause it's not like critical.
Well, this is for 2 years.
For 2 years.
We have a
okay.
2-year budget. So yeah, that would be your work plan for 2 years.
Okay,
So, why does it go in the budgeting process? Like, what's the fiscal downside for this? Is that
Time,
staff time?
staff time, everything in the budget process is either time or money. And so even our work plans to do, the board and commission work plans, because those are advisory to the city administrator and the city council. So we're saying this is the stuff we're gonna do for all the boards and commissions. We also take the budget request. So like a department like, or a board commission like Parks and Recreation, they're gonna want money into parks, right? So they
Right.
submit their financial request. So it's all bundled in, so the council
Okay.
has the whole package.
Understood. All right.
so if something comes up that is, I mean, things come up in 2 years that weren't approved.
Hmm,
I mean, that happens.
sure.
So you theoretically at any time could make a case for something that maybe didn't get on the budget for whatever reason. I mean, it's,
Yeah, this isn't your only chance. It's just a little more formal
okay,
outside of the budget process. So let's say there's a new law that comes out next week that you have to do X, Y, and Z for open meetings. And you want to help like form how that works and operates within the city. You could make a case to the city council that you would like to add that to the work plan. And given that if it's a new state law, it's a pretty reasonable request, I'd say. Those are the kinds of things that might pop up.
okay.
Oh, Spanish translation, interpretation services at meetings, review and prepare recommendations regarding Spanish translation and interpretation services for city council meetings. That's Ben McCauley.
We have been very busy. So, Anne Marie,
All right, so, Commissioner Diane Vance and myself have interviewed Latino city leaders, community members to get feedback on the quality, accessibility, and frequency of Spanish translation, both live and on screen. The community has given us direction on what works and what doesn't. We're now meeting with citizens who have experience providing translations to better devise a program proposal for Gilroy. The information we gather over the next 3 months will determine when we'll be ready to make an actual presentation. Because there's definitely people who have done this and have tools that have been proven effective and not. So we're just
you mean
collecting
bodies,
bodies,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're just collecting data for that.
gathering?
There's no way this will be ready by May 20th.
No.
So, but that's okay. We could still work on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe this is within your scope and I don't expect that it wouldn't be adopted as part of your work plan. I'm surprised actually, but you did that before with virtual hybrid meetings. Mhm. So there's a process.
Okay. That was it, right? Okay. Everybody's working hard. Really. Very impressive. All right, what is next?
The appointment of the chair and vice chair.
Oh,
So this is a process that's required every year by code. It's supposed to happen the first meeting after January with the lack of quorum and the appointments. This is the first opportunity for that process to take place. And so the typical approach is for a motion and second and vote on chair and then followed vice chair positions.
so I would like to make a motion to nominate Shane Somavia as the new chair.
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
You have Sadie.
Nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve.
But at this point, we'll be taking nominations for vice chair.
Okay, I would like to nominate Anne Marie McCauley for vice chair.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you.
Point then you're now chair.
Okay,
Move your right.
so
along.
new business. 6.2, review public records requests per Gilroy Code Section 17A35. And this includes 2024 and first quarter 2025 because we didn't have a quorum.
Right.
Correct. So this is a clean, so this is basically a catch up. So this is the PRA submittals for those quarters. So this brings the current on that. Looking back at past presentations of reports, there's a separate report for PD
And
public
fire?
reports. So that's not included in here. That'll be in the next one, so we'll catch up that one, and then that one will be current. Going forward to future meetings.
Okay, so I have a question. And an ask, really. I believe we used to be able to see the date of completion.
Okay,
Otherwise, how would we know if it was within the parameters of the code?
Mhm.
Sorry, can someone give a little background on what is this?
Do you want to explain that?
yeah, so under the open government ordinance, one of the provisions that it has for the commission is to review quarterly. A record of the Public Records Act requests, just to monitor compliance with the open government commission. And so as part of that, a quarterly reports provided at each meeting. And so this is a catch up because for an extended period, there was a challenge of obtaining form to do the reports. So looking at our streamlined system that we use for tracking PRAs, this is the report that's producing, so we'll work to make that an amendment going forward. So include the completion dates.
So this comes from citizens. Local.
Anyone that submits a Public Records Act request, so it doesn't distinguish between whether you're a resident or not. Anybody that submits a request has to be processed in compliance with the CPLA.
Got it.
Sometimes it's council or some, you know, somebody
It could
else
be
representing
news
somebody. Yeah.
Reporters.
You also have businesses that will use it. to track
Developers.
generally Some businesses in
Lots of
town. business
developers.
license data,
Sure.
Or to see what's already been done, you know, maybe they don't have to spend that money.
Yeah, my favorite was, I would like to know all of the permits that have been approved for my property that I just moved into.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. So this particular one is like 100 pages, maybe 100, more than 100, but
Yes.
so we look through it for, see if there's any problems, like, was it completed within the time limit? And, what were the hiccups, that kind of thing. So you should review them, and this was pretty big. They're not normally that big, usually a quarter, I think, right?
Yeah, usually a quarter of time, and then it'll vary, but it'll probably around 20 or 25 pages probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends. It all depends also on the length of the request as far as the description. Some are very brief and others are small essays.
Is this a different system than what we used to use? Like,
I think Ty started with some streamline and some of the past reports, but it looks like he may have done a lot of extra work.
so I wondered where that column went that had completion date, because I do remember that too.
I think there's also a challenge with making it readable and fit on the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we included everything that came out in the report, in the standard report. And included it here, and so it shrank down in size, which just does make it very difficult to read.
Some of the things I looked at past reports, because they come in quarterly, so like. Let's say last quarter, when we ended, there were PRAs that were submitted but weren't completed, they're still outstanding. So when we get our new quarter, I'd make sure, hey, did those last ones that were still open get completed this time?
They don't move forward on the reports, or they stay in the quarter that, oh,
That's the reconciliation.
I
That
would
I
think
would
that
do.
they would, well, I would think they would have to move it forward to show that there was a reconciliation of it.
And so, perfect example, this one, and thank you for the info. There was one that was submitted, remained submitted, it was submitted in October 2024. Wasn't changed to completed, so I ended up going to Mr. Atkins and said, hey, can you give me an updated status? And he did. Yeah, it was closed out, we just,
It hadn't been updated.
yeah, so it's kind of those things.
Mm,
Because if it was a citizen who had submitted and it wasn't closed and, oh yeah, it kind of fell through the cracks.
right. There could be an issue there with.
Yeah.
Us needing to follow.
And does completed mean that the person is satisfied, or does it mean that the city is satisfied?
Well, the city has done their due diligence and.
There's a legal threshold.
Yes, there's a lot of due diligence used.
So there are times when somebody makes a request for something that we don't have a document, there is no document, so under the Public Records Act, we're not required to create documents for people.
Okay.
Or for requesters, so we don't actually have a document that has information that they're asking for. And sometimes we'll do clarification, we get requests for marriage licenses, that's not something we do, so
Okay.
we'll inform them. We'll send the standard response, there's a language response, we don't have a responsive record, we send that to them. And then all the times, if it's especially where we know there's another agency that does it. You just say staff member will reach out to them and say, hey, you actually want to talk to the county records and provide them some information, help them get what they're looking for.
So you'll direct them to where that information is.
If we know
If
that
they
it's
know.
easily
Hmm.
reachable, yeah, we're not gonna
Research it.
research and whatever for all requests that come in, but it's something that's easily known by the staff member that's working on it. They can share that if they choose to.
Point out a couple of things. Is last year in 2024, we had 425 Public Records Act requests, which is 1.5 a day, even on days we're not open. So if you look at that, it's going crazy. We'll be the first to admit that the quality control with the city clerk vacancy has not been where we'd like it, but we do have two newer people in my office that are spending more time on it.
Oh.
So I would expect that this will get a little better and we'll be able to address maybe some of those concerns, like how do you reconcile one quarter to another and things like that. So I think we're going to get better. Or we're not. I don't think we are going to be better, but 420 something a year. And the other thing that it is being used for a lot now is litigation.
Mm.
Instead of doing depositions and discovery, they're using us as their discovery. And
You're their research.
we're not. We're a lot cheaper. We're out.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And is there a time frame that you have to complete the request?
Yeah.
There's a time frame for initial response. We identify that we're working on it, and if there's additional time needed, then we are to provide an updated time frame when the response records will be provided.
Mhm.
And then we can update that as time goes on. If there's, change condition, basically finding more records or times to go longer. So there's requirements and conditions, and when we run into those situations, we'll often get people's support to make sure we're complying with that. But some requests can be rather lengthy if they're asking for a lot of documents. We'll try to curtail them and then try to, narrow down what they're searching for. Sometimes they just want all emails, period, or something that degree, which requires a lot.
So all you need to do is just respond and say, we got your request, we're working on it. We need some extra time, and then that's
Sufficient for
Yeah.
the 10-day.
for the 10-day.
So try to meet it, but then if you can't meet it, then ask for an extension or work with on it, sorry. Submit that we're going to need an extension, and then as long as you're maintaining and sustaining that information and communication about those dates, you can extend it out to a certain point.
So Jimmy, in 2024 with, we had the interim clerk and lots of changes in that really the last 2 years, but did anything get missed? I mean, it seems like, except for the October 24,
Yeah, did anything get missed?
as far as like not responded.
No, I
by-
don't think that's the case. I think what the errors will be is the follow-up. And let's say we did respond in 10 days, and then that person who responded goes out on leave for a couple weeks. And we weren't really tracking it at the level that we had previously. So I would admit that probably happened, but I think those are anomalies, and I think the record shows that we do complete them and we do them. It's
Yeah.
just, but the percentage is high, but it's not at 100.
I think if something like that happens, it's a little bit more understandable than, hey, we just dropped the ball, so if someone goes on leave because it was an unforeseen, happening, then I think that's kind of within a margin of error. But if it's just like, hey, we just forgot about it and right.
Yeah, the system doesn't really allow you to forget about it
Yeah.
per se.
Oh, does it like remind you?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
reminders.
there's some reminders. There's some nuances. One of the challenges that we have, and this is something that's going on throughout most of the platforms. There's a company that is really large, has a big investment firm, is buying up different software programs and then slowly lets them deteriorate to try to encourage you to buy their flagship
Subscription.
program.
Mm.
Base
And so unfortunately, the system we use is one of those that has fallen victim. And so
Oh,
they actually are no longer selling new licenses. They're trying to kill the program down. And so at some point we'll probably have to make the jump because they were not allowing any new licenses to be issued for the system. So we're starting to kind of research and see about what to do, but we're encountering some issues as they do updates where things aren't quite connecting in the system.
Well, then they'll just let us say, we're not supporting that anymore, so.
Pretty much, yeah.
Buy our new one,
Yes.
like an Apple phone.
At times 10 the cost.
So this is just
Information only.
information only, if there's any follow-up questions that you have, and so like I said, we'll do a prompt in the production and we'll address the comments you made, improve
Great.
readability and including the columns that we're missing.
Mhm.
That was all.
And fire is included.
I did see that.
Police is, well, the only one that's standalone, right?
And thank you guys. I mean, that is a huge request and a huge time thing. So thanks for, like you said, there was some challenges and it sounds like you guys are doing what you need to do to
Yeah, it was a hard year.
keep things on the up and up. So appreciate it.
Very much.
All right, 7, city administrators update.
I don't really remember what I usually get hit with questions about stuff and I answer
And
them,
you can't answer.
but I don't know what I give an update on.
I think the only update we have, so we're currently in recruitment for the city clerk position.
That's a good one.
We're anticipating at this point, again, it's tentatively scheduled for June 12th as first round interview, so. It depends on.
Wait, sorry, June 12th is what?
The first round of interviews.
Oh, interviews.
If
Okay.
assuming the camp pool is decent, no extensions, that type of thing. So that's probably the biggest one that affects this commission's work, because that's obviously the chief position from PRAs and OGO. Section, I think that's.
Yeah, there are not large candidate pools for these positions. People don't grow up wanting to be city
city
clerks, I
clerk.
think. And plus, like giving an example, Morgan Hill. Now the city clerk over there is the public information officer. They're finding ways to add more to the position. And so it's hard. It's hard to recruit. And so I have been asked, we've been through several recruitments, haven't had anybody. If we do not get a successful candidate, we will have to reconsider how this position really fits in the organization and what we can do to,
Make it more attractive.
Can
Make
you
it more
train,
attractive.
can you train someone from within?
if they are willing to be trained.
Oh,
They
And
want-
we have identified numerous people we thought would be great folks, but given some of the parts of the job,
Right.
city and council meetings, things like that, they're just not interested.
What about, so do you need a degree to be a city clerk?
You don't need a degree, but there's a certification that they have. It's not always required for all things, but it's pretty typical that city clerks do have that certification, but definitely not a degree.
So one of the biggest obstacles is the hours and the commitment.
Maybe just the job in general.
and forward facing. I don't think a lot of
Yeah.
people want to be forward facing, the
That's a good
face
point.
of the city.
It's the same thing when we try to promote mid-managers to department heads. A lot of, I don't want to go to council, I don't want to have to do this, I don't want to have to do that. Because the pay is not like exponentially greater, and some people just like to be in the background.
Got it.
The other challenge you have is a lot of process driven time limit
Time
requirements.
constraints, right.
You have to perform within certain time frames.
To know about voting law and municipal law and, yeah. Hire a paralegal.
Who knows? Some cities do have their PRAs handled by outside law firms. But we're really gonna have to think through that. If
Yeah.
we find ourselves in the same
I hope you
position.
guys get somebody good. To work here. Do you have anything? Well, sorry.
No. All right, then our last item, adjournment. Formally adjourns 18:49.